Hey there, it's Robin, and you're listening to Healthy Habits for a Healthier Home. I'm here to help you create a healthier life, one simple shift at a time. If you're a mama ready to ditch toxins, clean up your family's nutrition, and build daily habits that support your well-being, you're definitely in the right place. Each episode is packed not only with education, but practical tips and tools to help you transform your health and your home without that feeling of overwhelm. So let's take this journey together to create a thriving, low-tox home for you and your family. If you're ready, say, I am ready. Now let's get into this episode. Hey y'all, welcome back. Today is a very special episode because I have the privilege of interviewing the Holistic Kids. So this is my first time actually doing a podcast with multiple people. And I'm so excited because they're kids, and you guys know my passion for kids and health and wellness. So this is just such a great pairing. So I'm excited to introduce you guys to Holistic Kids. I think you're going to be fascinated about their journey. They wrote a book, they're speakers. They've been to like many integrative and functional speaking topics. They have also been on some really big podcasts. So they're getting their name out there, and I'm super excited to share with you the wisdom that they hold that I hope that will ripple out to more of the children community and the young and older adult community as well. So welcome. Thank you so much for coming on today. I'm super excited to have you.
Well, first of all, thank you for having us. It's really our pleasure. And so we're so honored.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So there is three of you. So I would like to just have you guys take a moment and think about, how did you actually like start to come into wellness? Because like I said before, it's not like you just woke up and was like, oh, we're going to be healthy and write a book. So what brought you into this space?
So I think we're surrounded by the medical field, different medical professions. Whenever we'd get sick, a lot of the time people would just give us a pill or something like that. And it was a very short term like fixture, but we realized that, you know what, this medicine wasn't helping us. Like, we all dealt with different chronic issues. Specifically, I dealt with like mood disorders, eczema, and they also had theirs. And we realized that, you know what, especially your mom, she slowly started learning about this functional medicine. But it wasn't really until the pandemic that really made everyone go crazy about health. So we really wanted to teach kids specifically because we were so neglected in the health space. So yeah, that's when we created the podcast. The podcast was just us kids interviewing other adults and experts, world-renowned experts, New York Times best-selling authors, Harvard professors, all these people, and we were really getting so much information from them, as much as a lot of kids who were tuning in were also getting a lot of information from them. Yeah. But yeah, right when I got to school then, my best friend, he threatened to kill me. So it was harsh, and it made me very scared for my life. And that's when I realized that, you know what, I don't want any other teen to live like this. So we need to do this. And this podcast couldn't just stay a podcast. It really needed to be something much more, something that every teen could hold in their hands as a resource. And that, in my vision, was like how we got to this.
And plus, when we were doing the podcast, we started to actually see changes in ourselves. It started to benefit us. When we asked, how can we sleep better? How can kids sleep better? How can we, detoxify better? How can we eat better foods so that we can nourish our bodies and so that we can keep ourselves healthy? We actually started to see the difference in ourselves, and we saw the difference in our fan base, on our platform as well. And really, just to see how much it was impacting people, how much it was impacting kids, and how much it was impacting adults as well, we wanted to take this one step further. Because imagine a world where kids didn't, and teens and adults don't have to rely on a pill to become healthy. And that's actually something we realize, is that most teens, adults, and kids, they think that, oh, once I'm sick, I have to take medication. There's no other hope besides that. That when I have, eczema or I have allergies, or if I have depression or anxiety, then oh, here, take this pill, take this antidepressant, take this, take that. When in reality, we can actually heal ourselves through eating real natural food and by fixing our lifestyles. And so, for anybody watching as well, like if there is hope, you don't have to have that disease and for the rest of your life. You don't have to keep suffering every single day. You can come back to the self that you want, the self that you love to be in. And if we can start educating people, imagine, where the world can get to, and just where we can take the future of health.
Yeah, first of all, like love, like goosebumps, a lot of things. And so I want to go back and hit on a few things. Your curiosity, I think, is amazing because being curious as a child, I think gets squashed a lot in the traditional school setting. Even, just within hectic days and busy schedules, a lot of creativity, a lot of that curiosity kind of just gets muffled down. So, amen, to your mom that she instilled that curiosity in you guys. And then you had a question like, why am I taking this? And what is it actually doing for me? And I think asking questions is the number one thing that we can teach everybody. It's called being an advocate for yourself. It is finding out the information. There are certain things that medication is good for, right? To help you heal. It is not something that would be my first go-to. But if there's a life-threatening situation, there are reasons and there are things that it is beneficial for, surgery and things like that. But we have just become so complacent with it being the thing. And if we really just dialed it back, like you guys are saying, and you look at your lifestyle, and again, you guys didn't like have this thought and then, oh, I'm going to change my whole life. You started getting curious and you started learning. You talked to people that were in different industries that had different knowledge, and not one person knows everything. So you have to diversify who you talk to so that you can learn those things. So hearing about sleep and how important it is, hearing about detoxifying your body, hearing about ditching the ultra processed foods. And I'm a huge advocate for reading labels because if you know how to read your ingredients, not just the front of the box, but if you actually can flip something over, look at the ingredients, you are in control. You get to make the choice. If you choose to eat it, that's okay. Eat it, move on, and be done. But if it's something that has unhealthy ingredients and you're also sick, you've got to start taking charge of yourself and making better choices. So again, I love how you guys came into this. There wasn't like a specific mission, but you took what you were curious about and you started to learn and it has evolved. And to your point, our body is designed to heal. We just don't take the time to listen to our body. We just have something wrong, run, it's like eczema. One of my daughters had eczema. I had no idea it had to do from the inside out until I learned myself that it had to do from the inside out. They're like, oh, put this cream on it, do this. I'm like, this is not working. And this is crazy. We're putting like steroids in. And I was just like, okay, something else has to be. But there wasn't someone who told me that. It was like I had to figure it out as a curious mom. Like, what could be the root cause of this? It's not just happening. And so that was, one of my moments of like, oh, okay, I see there's something else going on here that's not being talked about. So that's for me and myself, that's how I stumbled into understanding better things I could do for my children to help them heal. And then again, now we want to kind of pass the torch on to you guys so that you can, be empowered. I mean, the best thing that we can do for you, I believe, is to teach and empower and then watch you guys live that out to have healthier generations. Because right now, as you guys, I am sure, are aware of, we have a very chronically sick planet, but children in general, it's insane compared to like when I grew up, compared to even, I would say like my kids' generation is probably the first generation where I'm seeing just so many sick. And it's unfortunate. And there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of stuff out there. So I want to get some of your information that you have learned so that we can teach whoever's listening today. What are some of the things you learned about sleep? Because sleep is, to me, one of the top pillars of health. And if you don't have good sleep, it's going to be hard to be healthy, right? So, what have you guys learned about sleeping?
First of all, as much as teenagers don't want to admit it, and we kind of like want to ignore the facts, that sleeping is 100% one of the most important things that we can do to put our bodies and lives back into balance. Because once we're able to take charge of our sleep, then our memory will become better, our learning will become better. Our brain will work better, our body will work better. We'll be able, actually studies have even come out that the body helps produces proteins and cells that fight infection and disease and improve your immune system. If we're more sleep deprived, actually, scientists have come out and said that, and studies have come out proving that you are more likely to get sick if you're sleep deprived. And I know I heard this one quote, I remember, I think we interviewed someone, and they're like, nobody can properly function on anything less than 6 hours of sleep. And I
I
think
truly believe that.
sometimes especially teens, we think we're invincible. It's like, I get 6 hours of sleep, I'll be fine. When in reality, our body is taking a heavy toll, and sleep is what we need to put our bodies back into balance. Because when we sleep, our body is given the chance to heal. And if we let our body do what needs to do, because, like you said before, our body can heal itself. We just have to give it the right ingredients and the right keys so that it can help us as long as we help our body back. And so, I think some of the most important things, like we like to say to kids and teens and even adults, at least 8 to 10 hours of sleep. And if you're like, I think under 12, then from 10 to 12 hours of sleep. And that way that your body can work the very best it can. And so that means that you can be the very best you can. And come on, like, who doesn't want to work the very best? And that's why we want people to start recognizing that when we sleep, things get better. And
Yeah.
that's just the
Sleep
reality.
is the new cool. That's
Yeah,
what I like to
exactly.
say. Especially when you're an old lady, you're like, sleep is a priority. There's no way around that. And I do think sleep is super important. And what you did say that I think needs to be said again is that when we sleep, that is the time when our body rests and it heals. And if we are giving it a proper amount of time to do that, and we're also not eating super close to bed, where our body's trying to digest and sleep at the same time, if we get our sleep straight, which isn't always easy because if you haven't had a good sleep schedule created, you have to create one for yourself. But I think if you don't know where to start, I think sleep is a first thing that you can. It's an easy thing that you can start thinking about and then implementing. Even if you're someone who gets 6 hours of sleep, try to get 7 hours of sleep. We're not saying go straight to the 10 hours, but as you build and you feel better, you'll want to sleep more. And I sleep is super important. And one of the other things you said was like eating and detoxifying. What have you guys learned just in general about food? What are some of the things where you were like, wow, I had no idea that could be potentially making me not feel my best?
Yeah, so like when we were learning and researching, I didn't really know that like different colors actually impact like different like it just helps in besides having one the same color. Like red food actually lowers inflammation, orange reproductive and eye health, yellow digestive health, green detoxification, blue brain health. And then brown chocolate, like for the
Tons of polyphenols,
tons of
yeah.
polyphenols, right? I didn't really know. I thought, oh yeah, this is like a while ago. I thought that, oh yeah, I could just have tons of broccoli and only broccoli, and I'd probably be fine.
Right.
Actually, like even having tons of the same color, tons of the same food is actually also bad.
And that's why I know what our mom used to tell us, and what she used to help teach us. She used to make eating the food fun. She used to always say, "Eat the rainbow."
I was just going to say that. So yeah, that's
And so we're
It's
not
very
talking
true.
about the M&M rainbow,
That's
but we're
right.
talking about the real food rainbow. Like you might said, the reds, the oranges, the yellows. There's so many different kinds of fruits out there with so many different colors. I mean, we like to go to the grocery store and look at, okay, this dragon fruit. Okay, what does this do? This helps with this. Pomegranate, which actually has something called acromantia in it, which you can only find from pomegranate, and is actually it's vital to keeping your microbiome and your gut healthy.
Which
And
is funny that you're saying that because that's, and I don't know if you guys see what I see because obviously probably our algorithms are different, but acromantia in a probiotic form is the rage all over the place. And I'm like, just have pomegranates. Like, I'm not against supplements, but I also think supplements is like a pill where it's like, let's try to naturally get it from food first. And if we can get it to a good level just with food, let's stay there. And if not, then we can supplement to raise, whatever your body's not compensating for. So I think it's important. And one of the things that you just said about if you just eat one color, it's actually not that good for you. And what happens is your body kind of almost goes into attack mode when you eat the same thing over and over and over. So if you're someone who, let's just say, the only vegetable you eat is broccoli, and you're feeling sick and then you go and you get like a nutrient panel done, it's probably going to be lit up for broccoli that, oh, you shouldn't have broccoli, but it's because you've just had too much. You've like overconsumed without balancing out with the other colors. So the whole phrase of eating the rainbow, it's like when you build your plate, build it in a way that it looks beautiful like the rainbow with natural foods, right? Not with food dyes. I think those are really important key things that if you are a child growing up, if you're in college, if you're an adult, when you go out to eat, think about creating, a plate that looks pretty at home when you're cooking. Cook multiple different colored vegetables for the week so that way you can. And it doesn't take that much time to think about. It's like just pick a red, pick an orange, and just make sure that you are understanding. And I love that you are curious that if you don't know what something does for your body, that you look it up because I think that's also empowering. What I think is so interesting is in our world right now, most kids know everything about a cell phone, everything, but they know nothing about what food does for your body. So I think there's a disconnect in the way that we're schooled and we're raised. We've just got to shift that, right? We've got to shift the lens in which we look at that. And so I want to talk a little bit about technology and what you guys have seen as you have been kind of going through this and writing your book and all of the things. When you talk about health, where does technology for teens and a little bit older teens fit in?
well, first of all, look, I know it's this. The reality is that right now especially teens, are addicted to phones. We're addicted to our technology. What 96% of Gen Zers actually say that they can't even go to the bathroom without taking their phone, which is crazy, craziness. That's
Adults
why.
are too. It's not just children. And when, like you said, you can't go to the bathroom without your phone, that's a problem. I think you're spot on with that.
And that's why I know, especially right now, as teens, we basically feel like we need our phones. And I know maybe even adults, sometimes when teens they leave, I know we are interviewing somebody on an expert and we are asking about, what is a sign that you're addicted, 100% addicted. And they basically said if you can't even go leave your room and you get like a panic attack, you have anxiety if you don't feel your phone in your pocket, or you need to have your phone with you at all times, and you can't just leave it in the room and leave and go do it with it throughout your day, then that's a problem. Because I know a lot of teens, if they don't have their phone with them, even if they're walking around their house, then they're like, oh my God, I need my phone with me. What if this happens? What if I get a notification? What if this text happens? That it kind of rewires our brain to feel like we need this phone. And
Mhm.
when that happens, then let's be honest, we're basically just chained to our phone. And how are we ever going to accomplish anything if we can't even deal with ourselves so that we're able to get rid of that addiction? And I know we talk about phones, the addiction part, but the reason why it's such a problem is because it's actually destroying our brains, bodies, and souls. And I know, like we interviewed Dr. Will Cole, who's a New York Times best-selling author, and he described technology as like a double-edged sword. Like we treat social media and digital connections like sugar. And he basically said that most of us we're hiding away our pains and unease,
It's a
all of
numbing
these
agent.
aspects of life, yeah, by pacifying ourselves and self-medicating ourselves by going on our phones. And we're just sticking our head in our phone, a sad image, but we're basically just communicating only with our thumbs in a dark room with a bright screen, and that's just the reality of what's going on. More kids are not going outside into nature as much as they should anymore. I mean, these, and we're not saying, no phones, because like, let's be honest,
You
it's
have
not
to,
realistic to
it
say.
is right, right. There is a reality to it. We just have gone so extreme that we need to like pull it back to a balance. I just feel like you can't have an all or nothing mentality. You've got to learn to balance the things. What I think is so fascinating is the addictive part of it and that need, the crave, the like what if, like you said, like what if I get a notification? Who cares? But one of the interesting things, and I think everybody, including adults, but also children and definitely teen and tween like 20s, really need to do an experiment where each week you pick a day and you literally do not use your phone. If you need to use technology, you go on your laptop. So if you need to send an email, you go to your laptop. If you need to, I mean, you guys can text from your computers at this point if you have to. Like if there's absolutely like something you must do. And I do think at the beginning there is some of that like little bit of withdrawal of like, well, what do I do with myself? I have nothing in my hands and I feel naked almost, right? Because it's like not what you're used to. But over time, when you build that habit in, I truly believe those days you'll be calmer, right? Your brain won't be bouncing. We are dopamine addicts, is what I think, because every time you get a notification, every time you get scroll to the new video, you're getting a dopamine hit. And we are just we need that in order to feel life, which is so sad. But again, it's a double-edged sword because it is good for some things, and there is positivity to it. It's just balancing it. But I think no phones in your room at night is huge. Not looking at your screens when you first wake up in the morning for the first hour, an hour before you go to bed, drop it off. Like those are simple things that's a good starting point, I feel like. What are your guys' rules around technology?
So usually we all have our own computers, but for maximum like 2 hours a day we have like a time to kind of spend on some like less dopamine inducing, like maybe some games or some like just relaxing. We're watching some videos, not anything crazy like constantly scrolling. So we like to do a maximum 2 hours a
Mhm.
day.
And I think that's realistic, right? I think it's fun to watch some of the videos because they do make you laugh if you're watching the good ones, right? Like the funny memes and things that people do. They are creative. I think that's the double-edged sword is like people that are super creative do create some funny stuff. And we're the audience for that. So I do think that having a maximum of 2 hours, but I would love to take a poll, and I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but I think it would be good for you to do it and have, an audience of 1,000 people, kids of certain ages, look at their phone usage per day, per week for a month. And I would love to see like the actual numbers of that without being, like inflated. Because I bet you it's super high.
The challenge is getting teens to look at their screen time in the first place, because I know that most teens wouldn't like, we know, especially, and I remember my peers, my classmates, they were like, "Oh, what's your screen time?" I was like, "Oh no, let's not look at that," basically. And it's because we know that we're spending so much time on social media, but like I bring it back to, we're just so addicted. And a lot of people I know we might be talking to, and they're like, "Oh yeah, but it's like it can't be affecting us that much, right?" When in reality, it's affecting our mental health. It's affecting, social media, especially, is really affecting our mental health. It's, teens right now are feeling more disconnected from the world than ever before, even though we're more social, even though we have social media. Social
Mhm.
media often, has like this own version of reality. Like, oh, this is happening over here, but my life is not like that. Like
Mm,
this person is on this vacation, and I'm sitting at home. Oh, like this person has such a better life. When in
right.
reality, like, that's not what's really happening, and those are only snapshots of their life, and that's not what our life is like. If teens can start to just switch off their technology, start to be more mindful about what they do, start to, at least when they go on their phones, go with a purpose.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, we're just gonna be wasting time. And let's be
I
honest,
like that. Go with a purpose, not just going on to something just to flip because you have nothing else to do. What do you guys think? And this is obviously just really your opinion, but what do you think? Where's the parental involvement? Like, what do you think? Do you think parents are just too lackadaisical because they're also on their phones? Or do you think it's something that keeps them busy? So, or do you think they just do it because it's the norm? What do you think should shift in the parenting sector? Because there has to be a shift several places. I know schools are finally starting to like, I remember when my daughter went to sixth grade, she's like, I have to have a phone for my class. I'm like, why? She's like, well, we do all this stuff on the phone. And I'm like, you have a computer though. But literally, she brought, it wasn't even like a real cell phone. It was like a cell phone that just had like Wi-Fi. So she could connect and get on whatever the app was that the kids used, Quizlet or whatever it was. But I was like, that's crazy because we're just inviting that into the classroom. And now it's a huge problem because now kids are having earbud in and it's like, what is happening? I do know that they're starting to implement where it's no phones in the schools. And I think what you're going to see from that, because that's 8 hours a day, 7 hours a day that these kids are will be forced not to really be on their phone. I think you're going to see more creativity coming out of kids. I think they're going to start reading a little bit more because what else are you going to do, right? It's you're not going to just flip through your phone. So, what is your opinions on where we can shift some of that parentally and like in the education system?
parents need to start being good, better role models. And I know one of the biggest issues, especially with parents, is that they tell their kids, don't go on the phone, don't do this, don't do that, the phone is bad for you, when them themselves are on the phone like 24/7. Like at the dinner table, they're on their phone when they're trying to like when they're in the car or like when they're not talking, they're not having conversations with their children because they're just on their phone. Most parents, what we definitely want to tell parents is that if we see you on your phone all the time, then most likely we're going to be on our phone all the time. And that's where it all starts because parents, you guys are the ones that help determine our future. And if we see you doing it all the time, then into our adulthood, we're going to be doing it all the time. We're going to be destroying our lives just because you didn't teach us properly. So please educate yourself as well. Start changing yourself first so that we can start changing. Because I know, especially for us as well, I noticed my mom start, cutting back on social media and cutting back on like and changing herself. And from seeing that, then I start changing as well.
Mhm.
Right. It is a ripple effect.
Yeah, like they bought the phones for us and you expect us to manage it, right? So they should know, right? And they should actually like, stop and maybe put limits on it. And like Will was saying, like if we see you doing something like going on your phone yourself for like 8 hours a day just scrolling, why would we not do it?
Well,
So
I think
yeah,
one of the things that really would be helpful is a class or classes of some sort to teach parents how to put the parental boundaries in place because I can tell you that nobody teaches a parent that. You have to teach yourself how to block your child's phone from only having like certain hours. And again, I think as a parent that when you first get the phone, you're doing it for safety purposes so that you can contact your child, so you know where your child's at in this crazy world, right? And not that I had any of that as a child, but that was my thinking around why I would get them something like that. Or if my child was at a sport, like I had one that danced and she was there like 6 hours every Saturday. So I'm like, well, if she has a phone that's connected to Wi-Fi, I could at least get in touch with her if I needed to. So at first it was started as that like safety, but then it rolled into, where we really had to like set limits and boundaries. And as far as the parental side of things, you guys are spot on with all of that. I think the hard part that has happened to our generation is that when we first got jobs, I mean, I'm going to date myself, but I'm 52. So when I first got a job at 23, we didn't have cell phones. So you just went to work and you went home, and you could email, there was email, but nobody really emailed you after work. And then when technology gave that phone and your work pays for that phone, you are accessible 24/7. So I think the parents have to get the boundaries of when you leave work, you have a notification that says, if I don't respond, I'll get back to you tomorrow by 10 a.m. or whatever. And I encourage people that I coach to have those emails that get shot back immediately, to say, like, I check my emails between this time and this time and this time and this time during the day, because otherwise all you're doing literally is putting fires out of emails and texts. And like, there's so many ways to notify people now that for parents, they constantly have that overwhelm of feeling like they have to be on and working at 10 o'clock at night and all of the things. So parents need boundaries too, guys. Like, it's not, they need the boundaries to then give the kids the boundaries, right? But we have just come into this space and we didn't grow up with phones. So this is like all new territory for us. But we can learn things and we can shift. And I think what you're saying is 100% spot on. And we need to do those shifting. And we need people like you guys nationally getting out there and speaking in front of people, colleges, workplaces, conferences. Like, you guys talking and saying these things is just as and more impactful than a big influencer, because you guys are the kids, you guys are the future, and you're bringing something forward. So I want to talk a little bit about your book.
Also, I just want to mention
Yeah,
one thing. I
go
know we
ahead.
have quick on
Absolutely.
time. You mentioned, like, I think one of the biggest issues that parents are dealing with, and one of the things, especially with teens, is that you just tell parents, just when their kids, or they ask them a question, or like, why am I only, why do I have this limit on my phone? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Then the parents say, oh, because I said so. Because just listen to me. But they don't actually tell us why they're putting those limits. They don't actually tell us and educate us why these phones are destroying our mental health, why they're leading to more stress, anxiety, and depression issues, why they're destroying our body and they're destroying our ability to function in society.
I
If,
think it's because they
yeah,
don't know. That's why
exactly.
they're not educated to understand how that technology can do all of those things to their children. So they think it's something else. They're like, how could that be? I mean, I'm not saying that's for every parent, but I think generally, and in the norm, when you say, like, this kid has anxiety, this kid's depressed, this kid, is suicidal, this kid is, they're not thinking technology is a part of it. And I think that, again, that is a message that we have to get out, and we have to spread it wide and far, so that people really, I know there's a small pocket of people that get that and understand that, but the people who are going through it, they're the ones that need to be educated. And I wanted to go back, because you had said when you went back to school, one of your friends threatened you. And that's an awful feeling, right? It's an awful feeling to be threatened in general. But then when you're being threatened by someone who might not, or might have some type of a mental health problem because of X, Y, and Z, whatever, which could be 50 million different things. But that's a clear sign that we need more education, because if someone's willing to threaten, they're kind of asking for help, even though they're not really asking for help. So I am sorry that you went through that, but I hope that that situation, has brought you some light into coming into this space and really talking about it. And hopefully, things in that respect have calmed down for you, because, we can always look at dark situations and try to find light in it. And hopefully that was the case for you. But I really want to talk about your book. So you got curious, you started the podcast, you felt like you needed to do more because you wanted to get things into, like, children's hands. So you guys all co-authored, and I'm sure, came up with the ideas and then wrote about. So just generally speaking, hook somebody so that they would want to read your book. What is someone going to be able to get from holding and reading the book? And the title of it is Teen Health Revolution: Lifestyle Secrets to Optimize Mind, Body, and Soul.
So yeah, this book is all about empowering, like, teens with simple, expert-backed lifestyle tips that they can use to improve their mind, body, and soul. We use the Revolution acronym to actually educate teens and implement key principles into their lives. Like, for example, R, revolutionize the gut, E, eat real food.
V, vanquish toxins. O, optimize stress management. L,
Hold
love.
on, let's stop 1 second. Let's go back. So, revolution is an acronym, and I want you to say it so that everybody can hear. R stands for,
Revolutionize the gut.
okay,
Eat, E is eat real food.
okay,
V, vanquish toxins.
O, optimize stress management, which teens definitely need to do. And then L, love nature.
U,
U,
unite with others.
T, tech limits.
I, invest in sleep.
O, open to gratitude and purpose. And N, navigate your decisions with mindfulness. And so we
love it.
wanted to make this simple acronym that anybody can use to educate themselves and implement these principles into their lives. We also, at the end of each chapter, actually, we have what do we do? So what do the holistic kids do? The practical things, because we know like nobody wants to read tons and tons of information sometimes on health, especially. And so we wanted the easy things that anybody can implement into their lives. They're simple, free, easy. I mean, I'm pretty sure go nature, sleep, gratitude, purpose, mindfulness. They're all basically free. And so we want what we do and about how we've taken the experts' advice from these past 5 years, 6 years of doing the podcast with over now 210 episodes that they can now use to help change their life for the better. We also have over 20 chronic conditions that teens are dealing with today, like acne, digestive issues, mood disorders, and how to use an integrative approach to add to your conventional care. And that we got our mom's help for because she's a doctor, so she did all that fun stuff.
I love that.
Yeah, and then we also put recipe, shopping list, Zain illustrated pictures, and so much more. And you can get our book and you can buy it at theteenhealthrevolution.com to get 4 free bonuses, PDFs with like lunch guides.
So, you guys are making it easy and accessible for kids to have tips and tools to create habits to have a healthier lifestyle.
Because shouldn't all of this education be easy and simple? That's
Yes,
why we realized how hard it was for us to find this. And so we wanted to put it in a simple, easy, a handheld guide that any teen can hold in their hands and change their life with.
I love it. I'll be ordering several as gifts and definitely one for each of my kids. I usually I go back and forth. Sometimes I read the book before I interview, but I chose not to because I wanted to really have just an authentic conversation with you guys. And I'm glad I did because I love the conversation. I love your acronym for Revolution, super easy to understand. And I want to because one of my main things obviously is ingredient reading, but that goes with toxins. And we didn't touch on that yet. So I just briefly want to touch on what do you guys know? What have you learned about toxins in your home?
So toxins are actually everywhere, and toxins don't really belong into the body. And now, like, the average person is exposed to more than 80,000 toxins a day, and that is way more than in the past. So there's like lots of toxins in homes where lots of furniture, like even when I'm looking at like a painting, I flip to the back and I'm like, can cause cancer. And I'm like, what? What is this? And it's like all these, it's crazy what toxins can really do to us.
And plus, I know especially teens and adults, we were putting all this cream on our face because we want to look better, or we were putting the deodorant for guys, or in girls, like thinking that they're gonna help us when in reality they contain tons and tons of chemicals that are really destroying our skin, they're destroying our body, they're affecting our liver, actually like they toxins because people say, "Oh yeah, but they can't be that bad, right?" Well, actually, toxins actually affect the proteins that control, gene expression, as well as other mechanisms that are involved in controlling gene function. And so then, because of like a glitchy liver, or like it's when the liver has is like been overloaded with toxins, then they can accumulate in our body. They damage the mitochondria. They affect our epigenetics. They affect our hormones. They inflame our gut, and they worsen chronic inflammation. And so I know a lot of people they're like, "Oh, I have this chronic disease. I have this chronic issue." And they're like, oh, but I'm doing all this. I'm exercising. I'm eating the right food. I'm, sleeping properly. When they're using tons and tons of chemicals on their body.
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
so there's just so many aspects. Also, the heavy metals we need to stay away from. Disrupting chemicals. There's so much, but try to keep it natural. I think
Hmm.
that's like the best.
Correct. And I want to, because what you just said, the endocrine disruptors and the carcinogenic chemicals and things like that, that goes back to reading ingredients. If you understand your ingredients, that goes for personal care products, it goes for cleaning products, it goes for what are you cooking on and what are you drinking after and what are your clothes made of and all. And are you going to be perfect in every area? No. But where you can, that's the epigenetic part. That's the part of the gene expression that we can control. And so it is about looking at things and what can you shift today. So if you are using toxic, deodorant that has aluminum and fragrance, I mean, fragrance and natural flavors for me. So natural flavors and foods and fragrance and everything else. You see that it's just an absolute no because in case anybody listening is not aware of this, but fragrance hides thousands of different chemicals because it's a trade secret and they are toxic. It is why they don't disclose exactly what they are. And then natural flavors is the same thing. It's not really natural. It's derived maybe the beginning from something natural, but it's chemically processed. Therefore, it is not natural any longer. So those are the things like very small, like one, two, three ingredients just to stay away from. You will find you're going to knock out a whole slew of things because they're in a lot of things. So I'm, very passionate about the non-toxic portion of things because that is such an easy shift and people are like, it's so expensive. So my rebuttal to that is you can use one product for multiple things. You're not buying four cleaners anymore. You're buying one cleaner. So how much is it for the four cleaners versus buying the one cleaner? It's about even. And then how much do you spend at Starbucks every week? So let's see how much you're spending there and let's take that and invest that in your health. And that will be buying things that might be slightly more expensive, but they last longer and it's worth it because you're worth it because your health is worth it because without your health, you're nothing, right? So
Exactly.
this has been amazing. I'm like so like overly proud of you guys for not only going on this journey, but having the passion behind trying to get this message out. And for nothing else, I hope that the ripple effect of going on different shows and interviewing people is part of that process of the ripple because I do believe we do have the ability to change. We don't need to wait for laws and governmental rule and things like we as community. One of the things you guys said was the unity, like the being in community in the revolution. We need to be that community, right? The more that we keep bringing into the community of wellness, the other things are just going to be like they're just not going to matter as much. And that's kind of my thing is we can hit things straight on where it's hard, or we can go around it and just bring people into what we're looking for and grow it that way. So, congratulations on all your successes so far. I know you guys have bright futures. I love that you guys are doing this as a family. I think that is super. You guys have your mini community within. And the last thing I want to ask is when you guys are out in the world, and obviously you guys have friends and social communities and things like that if someone is not on the same page as what you guys do, because there's a lot, obviously, how do you navigate that? Because I felt that was challenging as a parent to teach my children. So, how do you guys navigate that?
So,
So we always
yeah.
like to bring our own natural food along. Let's say if we're going out into a party and they're having all sorts of junk, we just like to bring our own food with. And if we're going to a different country, then and there has a lack of different organic, natural food, then we like to bring our own. So it's always about, you know what, like having your foods and stuff on the go to bring it and to always be healthy, you know.
What is the
And
reaction though from the other kids? I mean, obviously they know you probably well enough now that it's an expectation that you're going to do these things, but when you were first kind of learning and getting into it, what was that like for you guys?
so, because I started this, it's been 10 years. So I started this when I was like 7 years old, 8 years old.
Okay.
And so I remember, especially as a kid, we never felt left out because we knew what they were eating. Those Cheetos, those Takis, they're all basically poisonous garbage. They didn't even look at like food to us anymore. And as well, when they ask, "Oh, why don't you have this? Why don't you have that? Why don't you have some like, Pringles or Oreos?" We then told him, "Oh yeah, no, did you know that these ingredients actually lead to cancer, that they destroy our body, that we are going to basically be sicker in our life if we continue to have these foods?" And so our mom taught us at a young age what these foods do, and then we used to teach them to the people around us. And I know, especially, I remember I was in school and everyone was getting super mad that they were gonna, like, the school was planning on getting rid of M&Ms and tons of sugary candies. And the entire school, this is a high school classroom. They're all like, "Oh my God, no, you can't do this to us." And I looked to the guy next to me. I'm like, "Oh, there goes our lights." But
That's okay.
I looked at the guy next to me and I'm like, "Don't you, I mean, it's not that bad. Don't you actually know what's in these foods?" It's like, "No, I just like how they taste." And I was like, "Well, actually, did you know that has the red number 40, it has yellow number 5, and all of these actually lead to cancer, higher risk of hyperactivity, are linked to chronic inflammation, chronic disease, and destroy your body even more and make you sicker?" He's like, "No, wow, if I knew that, then I wouldn't have been, eating all this stuff in the first place." And
Yeah.
so at the end of the day, our friends are actually, they're like, "Oh yeah, can we have some of your food?" And they act, and they're like, "Oh yeah, 'cause they like to get our like health natural snacks. Plus, our natural snacks actually sometimes, most of the times, taste much better than theirs. Like we love Say chips. They're usually so much better than all that like poisonous crap that they have because
Yeah.
it's all just plastic and we're
Isn't it
eating natural
interesting when
food.
you go back, if you ever do eat something, to me, it tastes plastic. I don't know. It tastes like very bizarre to me now. It doesn't taste like food, anyways. I mean, but I did eat it back in the day because I didn't know any better. But I think that's also like something that makes me sad is because these things are on the market and you just assume if you're walking in a grocery store, you're walking, yeah, it's candy, it's full of sugar. Like, yes, we know that's not good for you, but like nobody's thinking they have dyes in them that can cause some of the things that you might have going on chronically. Nobody understands that, the components that are make up this little tiny, M&M or whatever it is, it's really harmful. But then the other flip side is, well, I'm fine. I'm not sick. I'm totally fine. It's like, yeah, you're right, because you have a bucket in your body and your bucket's going to fill up to a certain point, but your body is just a machine. And if you don't put oil in your car, eventually your car is going to break down. And it's the same thing. If you put, the wrong gasoline in your car, you're not going to run very far. And it's the same thing. We need to kind of get that kind of vision for people. But I think it's interesting when kids don't understand, right? And so I love that you're able to then educate them because I think that is super important. What I found as a mom, when the kids would say, "Oh, you can't have that."
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, let's think about that. Well, that doesn't feel good for someone to say, "Oh, she can't have that, she can't have dairy or she can't have gluten or whatever." But I told my girls, I'm like, you can have it. This is America. This is a free country. You can put those things in your mouth if somebody offers it to you. But the downside is you're not going to feel good. You're going to have, an eczema flare up. You're going to have a bad belly. You're going to have things that are not going to feel good. And the more that you do that, the more chronically sick you will become. So I empowered them, like your mom kind of did, to say, no, I can have it. I just choose not to. So I think there's a difference. And I think that language is something we also need to teach kids, but we have to offer the kids the healthy stuff. When you go into a classroom and there's like the snack, like everybody gets snacks at like a young age, it's like, well, of course they're not going to sit in their chair and learn well after. You're giving them a bunch of cheese doodles or like whatever, and it's like we have to introduce the healthier foods to begin with so that your palate gets used to them because these ultra processed foods are highly, highly addictive and they're created exactly with that purpose. So again, I love your guys' mission to educate. I can't say it enough. I think education is the key to change. And I'm excited to see you guys grow. So I'm going to be keeping in touch with you because I think it's super exciting what y'all have going on. Your mom should be super proud of you. You're more of getting to an adult age, but you have younger siblings. You're the oldest, right? You're 18?
Yeah, I'm 18, and then Emaad is
I'm 12.
You're 12,
Yeah, and I just turned 15.
and plus
15.
we have a 10-year-old brother and a 3-year-old brother. So, there's a good amount of backups.
There's a good amount of backups, but it's fun because you started at 7, where your younger siblings have probably started since birth to have a different
Yeah.
lifestyle. So it'll be interesting to see how they grow up as well. But I'm really just proud that you guys also have each other, because I think that's really important to have that bond and connection within your family to keep you guys on the road that you're on. So I appreciate your time. You guys look like you're having fun over there. I don't know what you're touching, but it looks fun. Thank you so much for coming on. But before we end, what is one non-negotiable that each of you guys have that you do daily that helps you to keep in your mindset, keep in the healthy lifestyle that you live?
Does anyone go first?
So I'm just gonna start with mindfulness. I think when you can be mindful, then you can really be your true potential. You can really be your full self. So what does being mindful mean? Well, being mindful is like being fully present in the present. So when we do that, we can focus on what we see, we focus on what we smell, we focus on what we hear. When we're mindful, we can take deep breaths in, and I think it really de-stresses me, and it really can make me feel so empowered, especially throughout the day.
Hmm.
I love that. Mindfulness is top of my list for priorities every day.
I think we should one of the key that's happening is because now a lot of teens are getting stressed. I think taking deep breaths like can actually help with stress management, because the 4 to 7 to 8 breath will help you when you're like stressed, and will immediately like help your nervous system empty your lungs of air. And there's like different styles for it too. So like you can do 4-7-8, you can do box breathing, you can tiger breathing. It's
Can
very
you explain what 4-7? Can you explain that to the audience in case they don't know what that actually is?
Yeah, so the 4-7-8 breathing is when you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, and then release for 8.
Mhm.
And then yeah.
And plus, it doesn't even have to be this complicated. You can just take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Done. That's all you need.
And then you just don't get stressed, and then you're calm.
That's why we like to also talk about breathing, because it's basically a natural reset button for your body.
Right. And
And I
when
think
people
for
get stressed, they get worked up, the first thing they do is hold their breath.
And it really works, and it's amazing how amazing our body is that we have this thing, and we have this thing that we can do to really de-stress ourselves. And
Mhm.
I think for my non-negotiable, it has to be gratitude. I know since we started, our mom started teaching us. She used to tell us, when you wake up, say 10 things that you're grateful for. And if you can't do 10, do 3. If you can't even do 3, at least do one thing that you're grateful for. And that then shifts, as teenagers, we're like those negative people out there. Like, I hate my life, I hate school, I hate my parents, I hate this, I hate that. But we, just by switching that subconscious to negative, to positive, we can really, like, achieve true success and do what we're meant to do for the day, and really take full advantage of every single thing and every single minute of that day, of each and every day. And so definitely gratitude. And I think, yeah, it's super simple, super easy. Anybody can do it.
I love that. And I love all three of your answers because they all really involve your mind, right? And I think your mind is a powerful thing that gets ignored. And when we're living life, especially teens, we do have a negative, but so do adults. Just, adults are just big sized teens. And so I think starting your day with what you are grateful for, and if you're struggling to get to those 10, that should be your goal for the week, right? We talk about when we leave the show, we have 1% shifts that we make for the week. And I think that's a great place to start. Breathing. I mean, we all have a breath that comes with us everywhere we go. If you're a driver, when you get to a stoplight, take some of those breaths and just notice, right? Notice how you feel when you're being mindful of your breath, and when you talk things that you're grateful for, when you speak that out loud, how things shift in your life, and the positivity that comes out of that will then ripple out to you wanting to make better food choices and better non-toxic choices and better community choices and things like that. Thank you so much. I am so grateful and honored to have you guys on. And I know I didn't meet your mom, but please tell her thank you from me, from one mother to the other. I just so grateful for this conversation and really for the work that you guys are doing. I think you guys are powerful and you are going to empower a lot of other kids to start on your journey if they're not already there, but if they are, to level it up, because there's a lot more work that needs to be done and we need to be talking about this in schools. I think, again, I know you guys talk at big conferences, but we need to get in the schools because that's where the kids live, right? And that's where they are 8 hours a day. And we need to infiltrate their brains and the teachers' brains with these mindful things. Could you imagine if every day you got to school and your teacher was like, we're going to pause for a second, take 3 deep breaths. We're all going to be mindful of where we are, grounded, and we're going to think of something we're great, like how different the environment of the classroom would be. And it's that simple. It takes 2 minutes. And it's something we need to kind of bring to like school districts so they can kind of incorporate that. So lots of changes coming. I think you guys are going to be the spiral of some of it. So super excited. All right. If you guys are listening, please share this episode with other moms, other teens, with your children. I think hearing from other kids is so powerful. If you have not already subscribed to the podcast, please do that. And obviously review this particular episode because it is so amazing. And let's give love to the holistic kids, and let's help them to continue this huge ripple out, because you never know when you might meet them. All right. Thank you guys so much. I will talk to you all next week. Have a great rest of your night.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
That episode had so many great takeaways. I hope you feel inspired and more empowered to make small 1% shifts on your wellness journey this week. I'd love to hear what resonated with you. If you want to leave a review, share your thoughts, and let me know how you're going to be implementing these 1% shifts into your life. And don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with another mama who could use a little wellness love. Want to stay connected? Join me on Instagram and Facebook at Live Life Balanced with Robin. Check out my website at livelifebalancedwithrobin.com for more resources, and grab yourself some freebies while you're there. Until next time, I hope you find peace, love, and light by breathing, being present, and allowing for all possibilities to come your way. See y'all next week. Love to y'all.